Professionals in my car. I'm your host, Oscar Montenegro. Today I have Dr. Connole, Director of Sport Psychology at KSU Athletics.
Thanks
Dr.
for having
Connole,
me. Excited to be here.
welcome to the hot seat, man.
No problem. I'm excited. Let's go.
So yeah, let's do it. So tell me, what is it that you specialize in?
And so, as you kind of alluded to, I specialize in sports psychology, which is the mental training of student athletes primarily. So my role is really focused on how are we enhancing mindsets and how people think and operate to be able to perform at their best as consistently as possible.
Good. And so how do you set yourself apart from the competition in this field?
So for me, there's two really key things in terms of how to be a great sports psych practitioner. It's mastering the art and the science of the field. So the science being the theory, the research, how to understand human behavior and how to impact it at a high level, and the art being how we deliver it. Being able to talk to an athlete not as a professor who's lecturing them about this is what you need to do to be able to do it, but being able to engage them and create sport relevant cues and work it within a sport environment. So it really becomes kind of the art of integrating in it and how we actually teach that in terms of engaging them in that process, because I get to learn from and work with some incredible athletes, and the art is to speak their language and let them be a part of that process.
So how do you get, as you're mentoring these folks and coaching these athletes, how do you get them to execute on the goals that they've set for themselves through your practice?
Yeah, so really kind of when we look at mental skills, it's very similar to physical skills, that there's kind of a skill acquisition phase. And first, I work only with athletes who are really interested in mental training. So this isn't
Not
everyone
everybody.
mandated to do this.
I see.
We have meetings with a lot of teams and we work as a team. There isn't a resistance to how do we learn skills to be better at our craft. You know, I look at that as a thing across the board that everyone wants.
Sure.
And so then it becomes, how do we acquire the skills? How do we practice the skills? Where do we put them into a practice environment? And then how do we integrate them into competition?
How would you, if somebody coming out of school in this profession, what kind of leadership competencies that you have now, how would you pass those on to a new sports psychologist?
Yeah.
So what does it take?
So it's funny you asked that. I just came back from California at JFK University talking about that specific thing. I really look at it as kind of the intersection of, Jim Collins talks about the hedgehog concept, right? This intersection of Venn diagrams of your passion, your skills, and then the market. And being able to find that key point and then match it with yourself as a person is where I think that really happens. So we're developing ourselves. So a big piece of that is working the skills on ourselves. So for me, that's, pushing myself in different performance domains to know that I'm practicing what I preach. It's also being able to know what I'm talking about from the research side, but then being able to know what I'm talking about from the sports side.
Sure.
Well, I can't go and, tell an athlete something in psychological mumbo jumbo that they can't relate to their sport and expect them to make that connection. It's my responsibility to make that connection. So when I work with kind of young sports psych practitioners, that's where I talk is, first it's finding great mentors and great training programs where you can develop those skills. I had the opportunity to work with some of the best sports psych folks in the world at Cal State Fullerton, West Virginia University, my master and doctorate programs, where I had incredible mentors to learn from. And I think that's a huge piece. But while you're there, it's about kind of working that hedgehog concept and working yourself. And I think when we do that, we can be a continual work in progress to really strive for mastery of our own craft.
It makes sense. And so I'll ask you, what can people do starting tomorrow to get on the path of effective leadership?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I'll kind of throw two things out there. The first one I think is to be able to really detail like what is the art and the science to be excellent in my craft. And so
And this is whatever it is
this
that
is
you're
whatever
doing.
your craft is. You know, for me, that craft is mental training and sports psychology.
Sure.
But for a business professional, it could be anything within their realm. And so there's the science and the really hard skills. And this is the knowledge and understanding of this is what someone should know from a content standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the art of being able to connect with people and relate to people and
Sure.
being able to engage people in that process and being able to create an environment that fosters intrinsic motivation and people want to engage and better themselves through that process. And then secondly, I think we're crazy at this point with the science that's come out about mindset training and meditation if we're not integrating that into our development as leaders. And that's what I see as kind of two key things that all of us can be doing kind of starting today is mastering the science and the art and then doing a mindfulness practice of some kind.
Man, that's good stuff, Doc. Thank you so much for getting in the hot seat. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be talking soon.
Great.
Take care.
Take care.